So महाराज बताया, प्रणाम महाराज। ज़्यादा लोग भी नहीं। यहाँ सबका अभ्यास है, अभी बोलने का जरूरत नहीं, कोई मोबाइल नहीं बचाएंगे जरूर। हाँ नहीं बोलूँगा, फिर भी आप करके रखिए।
Om Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Harihi Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishna. Dear Shantant Pananji and my brother, monk, and all the devotees here, I find it a blissful occasion today to think a few minutes and discuss with you about Swamiji. Namashri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Sure Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Sukhaswarupa. When you think of Swamiji, you get the feeling of blessedness. You think you have the feeling of Sukha, Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. So in that way, we have got a chance to think of Swamiji's Chicago challenges. I am happy and thankful to Swami Shantatmanji for giving a brief introduction. But in that introduction, what all the points I am supposed to say he has said. I think we can just now disperse now. All the points he has already touched. How Chicago threw challenges to Swamiji and how Swamiji overcame. So it's a very beautiful subject. When we read Swamiji in depth, then we understand for what purpose he was born. See, the challenges that are thrown by Chicago city or the time that he spent Chicago till the 11th September, those challenges were something extraordinary challenges. Twice during his stay in Chicago, he had decided to come back. You can understand what a terrible state of affairs at that time when the communication was not as on today. So twice he decided, I will go back. But even then, he pursued. He said, no, I shall not go back because on high, that is Thakur, how he has willed it and how Mother has given permission to me, all these things, are they waste? That is the question that came into him. And he suffered. The mental agony that Vivekananda went through during his stay in Chicago was something extraordinary. When we read that book, The Life of Swami Vivekananda by Eastern and Western Disciples, somewhere when you read, you will shed tears. He had seen much more complex situations in his own house when his sister died of suicide. All those things he has seen. But these Chicago experiences were terrible. In that contrast only we can understand when he became a hero of the Parliament of Religions from the 11th September onwards. You understand how wonderful, what was that that forced him to stay in Chicago. And that was Sri Ramakrishna's will. Because Sri Ramakrishna wanted him to go out and tell people. It is said that 6 lectures he gave in Chicago. Of course, he gave, see, the Parliament of Religions was only one part of that World Fair. In 1893, a big world fair came up. So lots of artisans from all over America and all over Europe, they participated there. And they brought as exhibits so many new development things. There was an industrial revolution, as it were, it happening in America, and they put it for show. And that was the main occasion. And in that, they decided, let us have parliament of religions, combining all the religious people together, bringing them together and see what are the ideas of religions. Likewise, the parliament of science was there, parliament of art and music was there. Like that, there were several parliaments going on at the same time. But those who came to the parliament of religions were more than 4,000 people, because that hall itself can contain 4,000 people. And then outside people are standing. So you can understand about 6,000 people were there. And such crowd, the other parliaments they organized did not see, because the variety was there. In music, etc., the variety of European and American music only were there. But here, the Parliament of Religions, all over the world, the religious leaders have been invited and have come. So naturally, you will find here it is something extraordinarily, a meeting has been arranged. And Swamiji says, this Parliament of Religion was meant for me, he says. What a bold statement. It was not meant for any other person, maybe for others also, but he says, meant for me. And he was known worldwide because of the Parliament of Religions. If he had not gone there, that's why when Professor Maharaj rightly pointed out, and because his name is Wright, so Professor Wright was telling him, you see, that to ask you whether you have credentials or not is like asking the shine, do you have the right to shine? So sun, you don't need to ask whether you have the right to shine. Sun shines. Like that, you are such a great man. 4 days, Professor Wright was talking to him. And in the 4 days, he found such vast knowledge, erudition. Only 20-year-old young boy. You take any 20-year-old in our families, any such boy or girl, does she have or he has such wide, vast knowledge? Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe. In Vyasa, regarding Vyasa, we say, he is a great writer and he has Vishala Buddhe. Swamiji was like that. In 29 years, he has mastered many things. And it was unbelievable. The Wright says he was himself a professor of Greek. And then that professor is talking to Swamiji and he says, what a wonderful knowledge you have. And he says, this is that one place when Swamiji says, you see, I have not got any credentials. I don't have anything. So I have decided to go back. This is the second time. First time he did in another place. Before coming to Boston, when he first came to Chicago, he decided to go back to India. This is the second time he's telling to Wright, I want to go back. I don't want to stay here. The Wright says, what? This is the best chance for you to be before the international audiences. And he brought him. And he wrote all the credentials letters to Dr. Barrows. Barrows was the chairman of that committee, and he wrote to him, here is the person I am sending you, who is knowledgeable than all our professors put together. That was something incredible, you see. An American is telling about his own professors in different faculties. And here is a man put together, he is greater than them. So this was the thing that he wrote. And Dr. Barrows also saw him. He talked to him. He was convinced and he allowed him. But all these things happened. And he stood on the podium on the 11th September 1893. He spoke. And the rest is history, as Swami Shantatmanji told you. Yes, the rest became history. But before reaching Chicago, Swamiji had taken a very winding tour of many countries. And his experiences during those 10, that peninsular, that ship that carried Swamiji started on 31st May 1893. He left the shores of Mumbai and started piercing through the waters of Arabian Sea. And first stoppage was at Colombo. At Colombo, Swamiji went there. When I visited Colombo, I inquired the Swamijis there, which Buddhist temple Swamiji visited. I want to go first there. And then only other things I would like to see. So the Swami in charge there, he arranged to take me to the Colombo, that place. Beautiful reclining pose of Lord Buddha. Huge, from here to there. It will be like that, about 30 feet. And that Buddha statue, Swamiji went and kneeled before Lord Buddha. And he said, this sculpture, this sculptist has done such a sculpture, this as if it is like a photo of Lord Buddha just before his nirvana. That's what Swamiji felt. You know, Swamiji was the second Buddha, we say. And he felt like that about Buddha. And with the Buddha's blessings only, he came out. And then he goes, another next stoppage was Malaysia. Malaysia, Penang, he stopped. And in between, while on the board of the ship, he became friendly with the captain. In the ship itself, he had first challenge of what was the challenge before going to Chicago. The first challenge started there. A person who was all along moving around India as a wandering monk with a staff and a kamandalu in his hand is now burdened with looking after trunks, wallets, purses, wardrobes. You can imagine how much challenge it was for a sannyasi like Vivekananda. We can carry all those things, we can even look after them. Our stage is different. But Swamiji's stage, you see, all over India he wandered. Did he care for money? Did he care for food? All those wandering days you think of. And those challenging days, definitely. But he depended on Sri Ramakrishna. Many times he was at most at the starving, and food came by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna. So here in the ship, all the facilities were there. And the Mantri of Khetri Maharaja had purchased a first-class ticket in the ship. Very few people travel by first class in those days. So he's got a beautiful compartment where he could stay. And bedding, everything was nice. And then he became friendly to the captain. And the captain was telling him about the working of the engines to him. A monk is now learning how a ship's engine is going to work. And then when Malaysia, Penang came, from Penang the ship started moving. Then he announced him, see, these are the Sumatra, area of Sumatra, where it used to be pirates. The pirates were dangerous pirates. Now due to the Britishers coming and with a better organized way of ammunitions, so they are all now coming down to their senses. Now they don't do the piracy. And then he came to Singapore. In Singapore, 3 days he stayed. Where he stayed is still, we are unable to trace that place. But he writes in his letter, one of his letters to his disciple, Alasinga Perumal, that in Singapore, I visited botanical garden. Every day, I walked through the botanical gardens, he says, and admired the palmyra trees. Palm trees were there. And he admired them. So I was in Singapore for 3 years, Whenever any devotees used to come to Singapore and meet me, I would tell them, please go to botanical garden, where the roads of the botanical gardens are still as it is. They have not repaired anything. They were very well laid by the British at that time. And the same road where Swamiji walked. When you go to Belur Math, what feeling you have? Here Swamiji walked. Here Brahmananji walked. Here Turiyanaji walked. That exorbitant, exotic feeling that you have at that time. That is what I say to the people. Go and walk in that botanical gardens. And then he came to Singapore. Then he went to Hong Kong. And in Hong Kong, in his letters, a description, very funny descriptions he makes. In Hong Kong, how he saw the women keeping the child on their back, were running from ship to ship, from boat to boat, and they're jumping over the waters. And he said the little John is keeping quietly with his little tuft, he's walking, he's looking at everything. He says, so what a beautiful description is that. And then from there he went to China. China was a very great, very good experience he had in China. China, he told his interpreter that, look, we all will now walk. Let us walk. for some time. I want to see one Chinese monastery. And in that monastery, he wanted to go, but then the Chinese were not at all at that time were favorable to the foreigners. They didn't want. So they brought some sticks to beat these people. Everybody took heels. And even the interpreter wanted to run. Then he caught hold of him and said, don't run. Let us stand here before them. Tell me what is the Chinese word for a Hindu yogi. So he told one word. And that word Swamiji uttered. The moment Swamiji uttered, I am a Hindu yogi, immediately they left their sticks and they bowed down to him. And they came to him, give us some kavachas, some amulets. They wanted some amulets. So what he did, he took some piece of paper and wrote Om and then gave to each one. Sanskrit Om he wrote and gave. And they with all devotion, they received it. And then took him inside the monastery. You see, it is on the entire journey till he reaches Chicago was so pleasant to him. Did he know at that time what is going to come when he reaches Chicago? And when he reached, he came to Vancouver, and from Vancouver he started by train. By train he came to Chicago. In the train, one lady was sitting, a middle-aged lady, American, and Sanborn, Miss Sanborn. She later became Mrs. and then whole family was devoted to Swami Vivekananda. She said, she talked to him. She was stunned. She was one of the leading intellectual of her town. She stays in Boston. And she said to Swamiji, anytime you want to come to Boston, just come to me. I will keep you in my house. I will do hospitality to you. Come there. And Swamiji said, okay, he took all the details from her. And then all the way they were talking on some extraordinary subjects. This lady was stunned at the vastness of his knowledge. Whoever came to Swamiji, they were first attracted by his features. The features description by the Americans, when you read that, you just wonder, we only see the pictures of Swamiji. But if you can see him directly, what would happen to us, we do not know. Such wonderful features, sculpted features as if Swamiji had. And that was a great benefit for Swamiji to attract people first to him. And the lady who was sitting on the Parliament of Religions meeting in front, she saw when he finished the meeting, when he had led the address, then he came down and a few group of women, just young women, attracted by his features, they went to him. And she says, my lad, she's telling, if you can withstand this, I think you are definitely a god, she said. And he withstood that. Everybody is attracted to his features. And those features make him attractive so that they can be attracted externally and then later to the Vedanta. That he says what he's going to say. The message that he came with from India. And this Swamiji, when he came to Chicago, and she went away, and in the meantime, he met one merchant there. That merchant said, don't worry, I will take you to the proper place, etc. He told. And then when the station arrived, that fellow ran away somewhere in the crowd. So he's gone. So he had nobody. And it was month of May. And he's searching here and there where to go. I told you he had trunks. He had wardrobes to look after. And he had some purse with some dollars in that. And the porters came. They saw a strange personality with this, that Verua cloths. And then with that turban, say, strange man has come. A pagan, they used to call him. A pagan has come. So they started exploiting him. Though they could speak English, Swamiji could understand English. But then they wanted to take the trunk from here to the hotel. And the porter said, I will take you to the best hotel of Chicago. Come with me. It was not best. But he took him there and put him there. And when everything was set in that room, Swamiji sat and he wondered, what has happened to me? Where I am in this strange land, strange circumstances, and strange behavior of the people. Everybody wants money here. Without money, nobody is going to talk. So he felt, now what has happened to my purse? And he looked at it, and the money has been, and the porter charged an enormous amount just to carry the trunk. Now, this is the second challenge that he met. He didn't know what to do. Then he started, from daytime onwards, he started visiting the fair. The fair was an eye opener for him. That's why he said, from the West, we should take technology. For Indians, he gives advice. Take technology from the West, but don't be a beggar. Give something back to them. And what you can give, except spirituality. Your own Sanatana Dharma, that is principles of them, if you can broadcast to them, and then take technology. Not one-sided business. You take and then you give. That was what Swamiji later told us. Now, those things he saw, what an enormous improvement in technology. That fair was an eye-opener, as he said. He saw many new things, and then he was very fascinated by the improvement of technology. And then one day he checked his money, and the money was very less. So somebody was talking, and then in that fair, when he used to go around the stalls, different stalls were there from different countries, and people started pestering him. They come, sometimes they will come, said, tell me, see my hand. Like that they would say. Somebody would say, tell me, seeing me, are you a Hindu yogi? Tell me what is going to happen tomorrow. Such silly things. They started disturbing him. And also, some people wanted money from him. So with all these things, he thought, it is no use of staying in Chicago. And then one day he decided, let me go to the Parliament of Religion's office and find out when exactly it is going to start. It was in the middle of July. May, June, July, 2 months he spent there. July came. When he went there, they said, what? That Parliament of Religions has been postponed. It is going to happen only on 11th September. So July, August, September, he has to stay. And with the money that he has got, he cannot pull on that many days. So that was the first time he decided to go back. Let me go back to India. He said, even if I fail here, it doesn't matter. I have come with a mission. I have to broadcast a message. But if I am not able to do it, let me go back as a failure. But who stopped him? It was Sri Ramakrishna who came and stopped him. No, you have to continue. And that idea, that what Sri Ramakrishna has brought to his senses, that made him stand. But then he was practical. So he inquired from the people, which state is for poor people. Then somebody said, why don't you go to Boston? Boston is cheaper than Chicago. So you can, 5 days if you stay here, and there you can stay 10 days. That much is cheaper. So why don't you go to Boston? So he agreed. So he took a train to Boston. At that time, he remembered that lady whom he met while coming from Vancouver. And she said, if you come to Boston, come to me. So he went to her. And surprising, with this trouble, when he met her, she was extremely happy to see him again. She was a very good hostess. But then, spending money when it comes, you have to spend. From your pocket, you have to spend. And she was a lady of learning. So she has a wide circle of friends who are all learned people in the town. So she knew Dr. Barrows, who was the chairman of that. And Professor Wright, she knew. So like that, many people she knew. And then she started telling her Boston people, come and see. And when people started coming to Swamiji, as if he is a curio, they all come and look at him like this from distance, whether they can come near him or not. With his dress, very funny dress he has got, strange dress in American standard. And then they came. So Swamiji accepted all this humiliation. You see, in foreign countries, when our monks go, there are many types of difficulties which we don't put up for the press. And many of the devotees also do not know. They think, oh, Swamiji is coming from Chicago, Swamiji is coming from New York, Swamiji is coming from Ireland. Everything is all rosy, like that you may think. It's not so. When you go to a foreign country, you have to face a lot. I have seen in Durban how much of difficulties I have faced. So we can write big books on that. But then we don't say all those things because it is not possible for us. And what is the use of telling you? So it's no use of also. Practical no use. So, but Swamiji's life, you see, he thought, let me go back. Anyway, by Ramakrishna's counseling, in his own mind it reflected, so he kept on. This lady, when she brought many people, She said, Swamiji, you must attend the Parliament of Religions. It is September, now it is July. You stay with me. I have no problem at all. But when you want to go to Chicago, you tell me, I will purchase a ticket and then give. But luckily, Professor Wright, who met Swamiji at that time, he gave a ticket also for Chicago. And Swamiji again got into the train and came to Chicago. And he told that Swamiji was telling today that Professor Wright, what was the comment of Professor Wright after talking to him, you see. And he wrote his personally a credential. And Swamiji did not bring any credential. Why? This was another challenge for Swamiji. When he came to Chicago and they said, you don't have any credentials, how do you accept you? And then nobody has recommended you from any sect, any organization. You are not representing anybody. Hinduism is a vast religion. Which sect you are? There are many sects from Hinduism who have come there. Even Majumdar has gone there from Calcutta, very Calcutta. But Swamiji did not know because he didn't have communication with him. So how he came? Brahma Samaj sent him credentials. Like that, many have come from India with proper credentials. But Swamiji did not have anything. So Sister Nivedita, while writing about Swamiji's experience in Chicago, she makes a funny observation, indicating how we devotees are so simple-minded. She says, the unorganizedness, organized from that, I'm telling, she has written this word. It's a new coining word in English, I think. Unorganizedness of Hinduism in general. The devotees were completely not knowing what to do when you send a person to America. They did not inquire what are the rules and regulations. And without that, they simply sent him. And there he says, and Swamiji also, very lively as a childish way, he is okay, accepted them, their request, and he came away. He also did not inquire. So with the two sides not understanding what should be done when you go to attend a conference, can you attend a conference like that today? Today they won't attend. They won't allow you. Once I went to Bangkok, so with another Swami, and my name has been already written. So I'm attending a conference there. So I took another Swami who wanted to see Bangkok, come with me. So there's a support also for me. And when I took him, they said, have you informed that this person is also accompanying you? They asked. The modern days, they do that. Even for an accompanying somebody, you must inform them earlier because share has to be kept for him. Their food has to be kept for him. Everything is counted, mind you, in Western these societies. So I said, oh, I did not write earlier, but if you want anything in written, I can give you now. Of course, they accepted. So we attended. So likewise, in those days, without any type of credentials, one man can go there and give a speech representing Hinduism not on the basis of any organization. That's why she says unorganizedness. That is the word she uses. So gullible, our devotees from India, they sent him. She actually feeling pain for Swamiji, when Swamiji had to suffer these things because of these fellows. They were so enthusiastic to send from Chennai, the boys who came. So he always calls the Chennai devotees as my boys. That itself shows, how he estimated them. They didn't have these ideas, how to send a person to foreign country. And with all the challenges, Swamiji went there. So when he went there, when they told all these things, and what he has to do, now he has attended that office. And then that office also he could not trace. He is inquiring with many people and they are unable to guide him. It was on 8th September that Swamiji was moving road to road by house, begging for food. And American society, nobody begs like that. If you go to a film theater and outside some beggars may be there. Or if you go to a church, outside some beggars may be sitting. But not on the roads. You can't find anybody begging on the road. If anybody begs, immediately police comes and catches him. In Singapore, not one beggar I have seen. The government doesn't allow people to beg there. So Western society is differently made. And then he's going and knocking the door and asking for food. Many houses shut the doors. The servants come out and abuse him. Get out from here. And Swamiji left. And in this way, he was coming and coming and coming. He came to a place and he broke down. 2 days he has not eaten. And it was September 8th. And September 9th was the glorious day that is coming. Previous day he fell down. And then at that time, you see how Sri Ramakrishna helps. Even when you think that you should not stay here, you should go back to India, then something happens. And opposite side, there was a big building, and the lady just opened the screen, the parda, and then she saw one man is collapsing on the roadside. So she came down and asked him, "Are you a delegate to Parliament of Religions?" Seeing his dress, he said, "Yes, come, come." She took him to his house, that Hail sisters. And they, what a wonderful thing they did. Because of them, we got Swamiji. And the whole family was dedicated to Swamiji. Her 2 daughters, she and her husband, they became devoted to Swamiji. And this lady took him inside, told her servants, put everything straight for him, take him to bathroom, and then clean him nicely, and then give him breakfast. Then I will talk him. And then after breakfast, etc., she took Swamiji by her car to the office of the Parliament of Religions. And there he presented his credentials now. Given not from India, from Dr. Wright, Professor Wright. And Dr. Barrow saw that. He immediately accepted it. Okay, no problem. Tomorrow you speak. But what do you represent? Swamiji said, I represent Hinduism. Because there was no other way that he can say. I represent Ramakrishna Mission, he could not say. There was no Ramakrishna Mission. So he said, I represent Hinduism. And when he stood there, he actually stood for Hinduism. That's why one of the papers wrote there that the message that Swamiji gave was a comprehensive message of a vast Hinduism. Hinduism can be seen or understood by its sects. It is so vast. Why the sects have come in Hinduism is a very peculiar idea. There are so many sects are there in Hinduism. Why they are there? They are there because the vastness cannot be compressed into small level. So only part by part we can see. If it's a huge ocean is there, can you see? Say 360 degrees, can you see? I can see 180 degrees from here to there. But I can't see this back 180 degrees. In Hinduism is like that, so vast. So sectarian views have come up. And those sectarian views are said to be very, very authentic because they are all from realization. And so none of the sect has to be condemned. That was the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. Every sectarian policies, every sectarian views, Sri Ramakrishna accepted as truth itself. That vastness, and Swamiji stood there representing the vastness of Hinduism. This was a great, great feeling of Swamiji there. Then, after that, his lecture, you know that how the newspapers walas come, that paparazzi, we say that. So the newspapers man, they used to come and poke him with hundreds and hundreds of nasty questions. Swamiji writes in one of his letters that once one Raja K, he doesn't write what name, it's a full name, Raja K dash dash dash. So he led not a very good life, not a very good life when he comes to foreign countries. So about him, there are some rumors going on in America. So these people, they were putting in the newspapers before this Parliament of Religions that one great Hindu yogi is found in this fair, and in the world fair he is moving around, and he told such and such things like that. What others are telling, the rumors, that they put it on his head. So Swamiji says, how you newspaper men, how do you twist the whole truth? I never spoke to you about those things, and you all wrote about my name. Swami Vivekananda, like that they wrote, that he says like that. So Swamiji had to face that also. Now if it goes to the India, as a news media, and then if that Raja K comes to know, what he will say? This monk has been abusing me outside. That type of trouble also Swamiji had to face. So there are many types of challenges of Swamiji that we see there. But all the challenges, one by one, he faced. Actually, though he was pushed to the maximum extent of returning to India at that time, he stood his foot and then he said, I shall do my job for which I have come. That determination that carried him forward with the grace of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, he fulfilled that. Today we have Vivekananda. For us, it is because of the Parliament of Religions, because he said that was made for me. And what number of lectures he gave. Swamiji said that that was the Parliament of Religion was the first public speech that Swamiji gave. It is true that for that type of enormous number of audience, that was the first speech. But he gave this type of standing on the podium, giving speech he has done. A few speeches he had given earlier at Anisquam Church. Last time when I went to USA, I wanted to see the Anisquam. So I went there and I stood on that stage where it is still weighted there. So they have kept it. So I stood there and thought of Swamiji. Swamiji stood there and spoke to those Christian people. And he spoke about Nazareth. And they were all stunned the way Swamiji spoke of Jesus. And he writes in one of his letters, now I am with the sons and daughters of Mary. Jesus the Christ is taking care of me. He writes there in that letter. So in the Anisquam is a very famous place. When you go there, please visit that place. It's a beautiful church, small church. And Swamiji was there. And nearby one house he stayed also. We went to that house also, but we could not enter that house because that owner has closed all the doors, so we could not go there. But that room also is there where Swamiji stayed. It has been purchased by another person. So you can see the tremendous challenges that Swamiji faced in Chicago. And before that also, which Swami, our brother told about before going to Chicago also, he had to face a lot of troubles. And those challenges were there. Even Scott, overcoming all those things, when he came to Chicago, finally everything settled down when he gave the message of oneness. When he gave the message of Vedanta to the people, everything settled down. At that time, he was the hero. So today being a very important day for us to think of Swamiji. And just before this talk started, outside, as a huge Swamiji statues come very near to our ashram. It was just at a little above that place. It has come. And today Swamiji requested me to unveil the statues. So that also has been done. So I am very pleased that both this work has been, I got it today, I'm feeling blessed. Sukha Swarupaya, Swamine Tapaharini. So let us enjoy the occasion. And when you go home, think of Swamiji's struggles and how he overcame by the blessings of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. Please read the chapter by this Western and Eastern and Western Disciples book. It is very well written. So with these few words, I take leave of you because we have 7 o'clock. Arati is there. Let us close here. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tatsat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Dear David Maharaj, we are very grateful to you for taking out time and addressing your devotees on the challenges of Chicago. हम सब आपको प्रणाम करते हैं. We offer our humble pranams to you. So जब भी आपका मौका मिलता है जरूर आइए. Please come. Of course, we'll also invite you specially. फिर भी आपका आसपास आप within 100 kilometers आप आएंगे तो जरूर दिल्ली में बताइए so we can hear again. अभी बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम हैं. 18 का बक्स में those of you who have not registered may do so because only 7 days. हम लोग बाकी लोग 18 तक वेट करेंगे. उस मॉर्निंग तक क्योंकि 17 तक करके नहीं आ पाएंगे तो